I knew something was wrong the second I saw her smile in that photo. It wasn't the smile itself, Emma always had a soft one, the kind that tugged gently at the corners rather than stretching wide. But that day, on the screen of my phone, the corners didn't just lift. They strained. They reached. They looked like someone else entirely. And she wasn't smiling at the camera. She was smiling at him. I stood alone in my apartment, the hum of the refrigerator the only sound cutting through the dead air. The picture had been sent by a friend who clearly didn't know what else to do with it. A wedding photo. My ex-wife in a white dress I'd never seen, standing beneath an arch of half-wilted roses. And beside her, the man who had nothing to do with our divorce, the man she had sworn was just a co-worker, the man she'd insisted I was imagining problems around. They'd gotten married 2 weeks after our paperwork finalized. 2 weeks. I felt something in my chest twist, then split. Not cleanly. More like a slow tear. I didn't answer my friend's text. I didn't move for what felt like hours. I just stared at the two of them, her looking alive in a way she hadn't looked with me in years, him holding her hand like he'd earned it. And God help me, the only thing I wanted was the truth. Not the pieces she'd handed me during long arguments. Not the polished half-facts from our last counseling session. Not the sterile, legally safe versions we wrote in the divorce petition. The real truth. The one that sat behind her eyes when she said she needed time to find herself. The problem was, truth rarely shows itself willingly. It makes you hunt it. I didn't plan to go to the wedding reception. Obviously, I hadn't been invited. But my friend, the same one who'd sent the photo, texted again later that evening. You should talk to someone who's there. Someone knows something. I stared at those words until they blurred. That's how I ended up driving an hour to a small countryside venue with my hands sweating against the steering wheel. I parked far enough away that no one would recognize the car. The night air was warm against my face as I stepped out, and somewhere behind the trees, faint music drifted across the field, muffled laughter, clinking glasses, and the familiar voice of the woman I used to wake up beside. Part of me hated myself for coming. Part of me needed to. I walked toward the lights until I found the edge of the property. A few guests stood outside the main tent, smoking and talking quietly. I stayed in the shadows, watching for someone I knew but didn't expect to find anyone. Then I saw him, Mark, her cousin. He'd always been kind to me, the sort who noticed when people were hurting. He spotted me first. His eyes widened a little, but not with anger. More like regret. Ryan, he said, stepping closer. Man, what are you doing here? I swallowed, unable to force the first few words out. I saw the photos. He nodded slowly, exhaling hard through his nose like he'd been waiting for this moment. You want the truth, don't you? He asked. I didn't answer. I didn't have to. Come on, he said quietly. Let's step away from everyone. We walked toward the parking area, far from the lights and music. Gravel crunched under our shoes, and for a second it reminded me of the sound Emma's suitcase made when she dragged it out the night she said she needed to take time at her sister's. Mark leaned against a wooden fence. I didn't think they'd get married this fast. None of us did. Was it going on before? The question finally spilled out, raw and sharp. Just tell me that much. He didn't answer right away. His jaw tightened. His boot scraped lightly against the gravel as he shifted his weight. Yeah, he said. It was. The words landed like a punch to the sternum. How long? Longer than you want to know. I closed my eyes because the world suddenly felt too detailed, the smell of cut grass, the murmur of voices behind us, the distant thump of music. Too real. He kept talking. She told us she'd tell you. I didn't know she didn't. She never said anything, I whispered. Not once. And suddenly everything felt ugly, every fight, every quiet night where she turned away from me, every excuse she made about working late, every moment I blamed myself. You didn't deserve that, man, Mark said. She should have handled it differently. I let out a breath that felt like it carried months of confusion with it. Why are you telling me this now? Because someone should, he said. And because, you're standing here. And look at you. You're still trying to make sense of it instead of hating her. I stared at the ground. I don't want to hate her. I know. He hesitated, then reached into his jacket. He pulled out a folded paper, worn at the edges. She wrote vows tonight, he said. Real ones. Not the ones she read publicly. These she crumpled up before the ceremony. She dropped them. I picked them up without thinking. He held them out to me. I shouldn't give these to you, he said. But maybe it helps you understand. My hands shook as I took them. When I unfolded the page, her handwriting rushed up at me, familiar loops and curves that once filled grocery lists and birthday cards. I should have told him sooner. He deserved honesty. He gave me years I never appreciated until I met you. I didn't mean to hurt him, but I did. And I will carry that guilt into this marriage. My throat closed. Another line. I hope one day he sees that I didn't leave because he failed. I left because I did. Something inside me cracked, not the explosive kind, but the quiet, devastating kind that sinks deep and stays. I folded the note slowly, carefully, like it was something fragile. Does he know I'm here? I asked. Mark shook his head. No one does. And I won't tell them. I nodded, unable to speak. For a moment we just stood there, two silhouettes under soft yellow lamps while the celebration hummed in the distance, painfully alive. You should go, Mark said gently. Yeah, I whispered. I should. I turned and walked back toward my car. Every step felt heavier than the last. When I opened the door and sat inside, the silence wrapped around me like something final. I didn't hate her. That was the worst part. Because now I knew the truth, not just the betrayal, not just the timeline, but the part that hurt more than all of it. She loved someone else enough to ruin me, but not enough to do it honestly. And I had loved her enough to miss every sign. I looked at the crumpled vows one last time before setting them on the passenger seat. Then I started the engine and drove away, not toward anger, or closure, or anything clean. Just away. The ache stayed with me the whole drive home, settling in the space she used to occupy. And I knew it would stay long after this night faded into memory. But at least, finally, I wasn't guessing anymore.